Right, hello everyone, and welcome to Diesel Arsenal channel. I hope you're all well today, and I'm very fortunate and lucky that Diesel has allowed me to come on his channel again. And today I'm going to be talking about the phenomenon known as Bigfoot. I hope you're going to enjoy it. It's something that's intrigues me. I just find the whole thing fascinating. So I hope you're going to enjoy what I've got lined up for you. And yeah, it should be a good show. We're going to go through lots of different things. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before I do, can you please make sure that you put a like on the video, please? And also, please subscribe to Diesel's channel if you haven't done it already. And also, please come over to my channel, Warren's Team Talk, whenever you can, and check me out. Tomorrow, starting about 3:30, I think it's going to be, I'm going to do a match day live show like I do every weekend. So come and check that out. It'll be exciting because it's the last day of the season. So that should be pretty wild. Anyway, so let's get on with this Bigfoot stuff and get into it. So first of all, oops, hold on. Sorry about that, guys. Right, so first of all, let's look at what is Bigfoot. Now, Bigfoot is most often described as a large, muscular, humanoid, ape-like creature. It's covered in black, dark brown, or dark reddish hair. And some people have reported that it's very human-like, particularly in its face. It's also alleged that it is between 1.8 meters and 2.7 meters tall, i.e. 6 to 9 foot. And it even is as tall as 4.6 meters, which is 15 foot. Now, I have to say, I've never ever read anything that's saying it's that tall. Most of the stuff I've read states that it's about 8 foot tall. So well over 2 meters. So I've never ever seen anything saying it's like that size, because that's massive. Anyway, there's a couple of people in the chat I just want to say hello to. It's Joanne Smith, and she says, hello, Warren, my lovelies. Hi, Joanne. I hope you're well. Thanks for coming. And Jez says, afternoon all. Good to see you, Jez. I hope you're good, mate. Thanks last night for that show that you put on. It was absolutely superb, mate. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was quite emotional for me, I have to say, but it was good. I think it was something that we needed to say and talk about. So yeah, thanks for sorting that out, mate. Joanne says, don't know much about Bigfoot. Well, I'm hoping to be able to tell you lots of stuff about Bigfoot today. So put your feet up, have a nice cup of tea, and enjoy it. Anyway, so it's commonly described as having no neck. It's extremely broad-shouldered and has extremely long arms. And these characteristics have led skeptics to claim that the sightings are simply misidentification of bears standing upright. A lot of the sightings have happened at night, and that a lot of them claim that the Bigfoot or Sasquatch, as it's also known, is a creature that has glowing red or yellow eyes. Craig Malloy's in the chat. Hi, Craig. And Jez says, Warren, it was a pleasure. Loved it. I did too. It was fantastic. So the eye shining aspect of the alleged creature is not found in any other humanoid like ape-like creature. And so it has been proposed that the eye shining stuff is down to the fact that people are actually seeing owls, raccoons, or possums sitting in foliage. And the Bigfoot are also often accompanied by a strong, unpleasant smell. And Michael Rugg, owner of the Bigfoot Discovery Museum in Northern California, states that he has smelt Bigfoot, and he describes the smell as something similar to a skunk, which had rolled around the dead animals and then hung around a rubbish tip. So people who've also had contact with Bigfoot claim they make up a really high-pitched screeching noise or whooping noise, which has been claimed it would be impossible for humans to recreate without with our vocal capabilities. So they claim it's just not possible for a human to make the noises that they're making. It's also claimed that Bigfoots like to make knocking noises, or they use knocking noises to communicate. There have also been numerous recordings of alleged Bigfoot sounds, one of which was played by Joe Rogan in a show that he did in March 2021 with a guy named Nate Bargatze, and that was in his show episode 1620. Right, now, I'm really lucky that I've got a alleged recording of a Bigfoot, okay? A Bigfoot making a sound. So I'm going to play this for you so you can hear it as well. So here we go. Oh, hold on. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so let's start again. Sorry about that. Here we go. So yeah, that was the recording of the Bigfoot. I just think that's really weird. It doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard before. I mean, the closest thing to me, and it doesn't really sound like that at all, is the sound that a fox makes. Those of you who live in the country or have heard of fox will know what I'm talking about, because they make the most hideous sound known to man, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so I just thought that'd be interesting for people to listen to. And what's Jez said? It was Jez says, Warren, it was a pleasure, loved it. Joanne says, so you just described Arteta then, he is a Bigfoot. And Norpan 506 said, is he talking about Arteta? I don't think Arteta would last 5 minutes with a group of Bigfoot, to be quite honest. I think they'd rip him to shreds. So the sounds invariably of Bigfoot are extremely bizarre, and they do not seem to resemble as any other known sounds, particularly those made by humanoid or ape-like creatures. Alleged vocalizations such as howls, screams, moans, grunts, whistles, and even a form of supposed language have been reported. Some recordings of alleged sounds made by the Bigfoot in the 1970s, which were allegedly recorded in the Sierra Nevada mountains, were analysed by a retired US Navy linguist expert. And in his expert opinion, his opinion was that it was definitely a language, and it was definitely not human in origin, and he felt there's no way it could have been faked. However, skeptics have argued that the source of the sounds attributed to Bigfoot are either hoaxes or anthropomorphizations, which is when people place human characteristics to things which are not human, or they are likely misidentified and produced by known animals such as owls, wolves, coyotes and foxes. But I'm sorry, that thing that we just listened to, there is no way, in my opinion, that is a wolf or an owl. I don't know about a coyote because I've never heard a coyote, and it's certainly not a fox. But there you go. Most scientists refuse to accept that the creature exists, and this isn't helped by the fact that no bodies have ever been produced, and a lot of the photographic evidence of film footage that has been produced is either of extremely poor quality or has easily been discredited, and none of the material which has been put forward as evidence has been able to be verified. So what we're going to do now, we're going to look at some alleged encounters with Bigfoot. So there's a really famous incident called the Battle of Ape Canyon. In 1924, a group of miners were attacked allegedly by a group of large hairy ape men type creatures who threw rocks onto the roof of their cabin from a nearby cliff after one of the miners apparently shot one of the creatures with a rifle. And this incident is now known as the Battle of Ape Canyon. And in this here, this is from a newspaper cutting from the time. And it's it just basically says like fabled beasts are said to have bombarded a cabin. One of the animals said to appear like a huge gorilla was killed by the party. So there you go. Now, here we go. Now, when I was doing the research for this show, all right, I stumbled across by accident a newspaper article which was on the Daily Mail's website about a alleged Bigfoot sighting in Tunbridge Wells. Yeah, Tunbridge Wells in Kent, and this is not far from where I live. So when I saw this, it just freaked me out, I have to say. And it basically said that this creature first was reported about 70 odd years ago, and then most recently 10 years ago. And apparently this creature was terrorizing the local population. Now, I don't know if any of you know Tunbridge Wells, but from everything I've read about this creature, I just do not believe that there's one on the loose in Tunbridge Wells, right? Because this creature likes densely forested areas, mountainous regions, areas that are very remote and do not have hugely populated areas with human beings. And Tunbridge Wells, although it's not a big city, it's just a little town. I just don't see where a Bigfoot or a group of Bigfoot could be living in the area, because there's no densely forested areas or whatnot. But I just thought it was interesting. It was just interesting. No one, thankfully, was killed by it, but it was seen on the loose, and apparently one guy approached it and it roared at him, and this guy had it on his toes, as they say. The Patterson Gimlin film. Now, this is the most famous. It's the most famous film footage ever produced of a Bigfoot sighting. There is a video of it on YouTube. I did try to put a link into the chat, but for some reason I couldn't get it to go in. basically, I'm going to tell you about it. So the image that that you're looking at now is a still probably, and it's probably, like I say, the most famous film footage of an alleged Bigfoot encounter. It's called the Patterson-Gimlin film, and it was recorded on the 20th of October 1967. It was recorded by two guys named Roger Patterson and Robert Bob Gimlin, as they explored an area called Bluff Creek in Northern California. Now, the footage lasts for 59.5 seconds, and it's become an iconic piece of Bigfoot lore, and it continues to be highly scrutinized, analyzed, and debated right up to today. So some argue that the film has provided no supportive data of any scientific value, while others believe that the subject in the film is proof of an unrecognized species of primates living in North America. Now, some of the scientists who have examined the footage have raised concerns over its authenticity for a number of reasons, including the length of the footprints, which are totally at odds with its calculated height. There's a difference between the color of the hands and the feet, and they felt it was likely to be someone in a suit. However, most feel that the evidence is inconclusive either way. Now, interestingly, Disney executive Ken Peterson, after viewing the Patterson film, was reported as saying that their technicians would not be able to duplicate the film, and it was argued that if Disney personnel were unable to duplicate the film, then there is little likelihood that the Patterson and his mate could have done so. Now, apparently, a visit was made to Walt Disney Studios in 1972, where Disney chief of animation and four assistants viewed the Patterson footage and praised it as a beautiful piece of work, although they said it must have been shot in a studio. Now, when they were told that it had been shot in the woods of Northern California, they just shook their heads and walked away because they just found it staggering. So there you go. It's a classic bit of footage, but it's inconclusive, to be quite frank. Now, down the years, there have been numerous casts of footprints brought forward, which it has been claimed are of Bigfoot creatures, and invariably these footprints are enormous, and they can be up to 6.1 centimeters or 24 inches long, and 20 centimeters or 8 inches wide, and some of them also contain claw marks, which skeptics have used to discredit them by saying that they would have come from other creatures already known to us, such as bears. Now, so the big question is, whereabouts have people had encounters with Bigfoot? Now, the map on the screen shows you some of the areas where people have had encounters, and Statics just came in. Hi, Static. He says, good afternoon, Warren. Nice to see you, mate. I hope you're well. And predominantly the sightings of Bigfoot seem to have happened in the United States and Canada. And the sightings mostly seem to have occurred in remotely densely forested areas or mountainous regions which are sparsely populated at best. So this goes back to what I was saying before, that the creature seems to like living in extremely, if it exists, likes to live in extremely remote areas where there's a lot of dense forests, and where it is extremely remote and they're not going to run into humans, which is why I find it quite difficult to believe about the story, the newspaper report of the one that was on the loose in Tunbridge Wells, because Tunbridge Wells doesn't fit that description at all. So approximately 1/3 of all sightings seem to have happened in the Pacific Northwest, with the remainder spread out around other parts of North America, and these sightings have been reported mostly in the northwestern region of Washington, Oregon, Northern California, and British Columbia. Static says, Warren, I'm good, thank you. Keep up the good work. I look forward to this. Thank you, mate, and keep up. I hope you're well too. I'm very curious about Bigfoot. Okay, excellent. Well, I hope you enjoy this, mate. I don't know where you live, Static, but have you ever seen anything odd like Bigfoot where you are? I don't know if you're in the United States or Canada or where you are, because I'm going to talk later as well where else in the world there's been Bigfoot type creatures, because it isn't just in the United States that large humanoid type creatures have been spotted. We've just seen about one that was on the loose in Kent in the southeast of England, allegedly, which I'm struggled to believe that it was a Bigfoot. I think it's probably something else. But yeah, so anyway, moving on. So other areas where Bigfoot sightings and encounters have taken place include the rural areas of the Great Lakes region and the southeastern United States. Bigfoot is known as well by its other name, which is Sasquatch, and it's known as that by the indigenous peoples of North America, and it seems to be similar in nature to the Himalayan region's mythical monster, the abominable snowman, or the Yeti. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you now. I'm going to show you and here you can see this like a map where there's been sightings of similar creatures around the world. So you can see that they're dotted around all over the planet, to be honest. And this table shows the cases of Bigfoot sightings around the United States. And as we can see, Washington seems to have the most by quite some distance. It's got over 2,000 sightings. I live in London. I do have some family that live in the US, so I'll remain open-minded. Fair play, man. And Tony Ibarra, back in Washington State, there is a small Bigfoot museum. The owner claims to have seen Bigfoot and kept a footprint he found when he ran after him. Gee, well, there you go, you see. So if he lives in Washington State, then like 2,000, there's been over 2,000 sightings in Washington. So, yeah, that's really cool. And Pennsylvania had 1,300. California 1,600, New York 1,000, Oregon 1,800 in Texas. And from what I've read about this creature, it seems to be quite a peaceful animal. It doesn't go out of its way to be aggressive or violent in any way, shape, or form, and doesn't look to come into contact with humans. In fact, quite the opposite. It likes to stay away from areas with large human populations. So, which I think is very sensible, to be quite honest. Now, let's see. So, similar creatures around the world. What we're going to do now, we're going to look at what other creatures around the world that are similar to Bigfoot. So wow, the statistics are crazy. Yeah, they are, aren't they? I was like astonished by that as well. So other creatures of relatively similar descriptions are alleged to inhabit various regions throughout the world, such as the skunk ape of the southeastern United States, the almas, the yerin, and the yeti in Asia, and the Australasian yowie, all of which, like Bigfoot, are ingrained in the cultures of their regions. And you can see, look, the yowie one, that gives you an idea of how big it is. It's holding a kangaroo in its hand, and the kangaroo looks tiny in comparison to it. And then, like the picture of the yowie as well, you can see it stood next to like what appears to be a human, and it's quite a lot larger. Right, so here we go. What's next? Right, so what we're going to do now is look at some of the theories which attempt to explain the Bigfoot phenomena. There are various explanations which are put forward to explain encounters with Bigfoot-type creatures, which I'm now going to go through. And some of these, and what some of these are. Most of these explanations are put down to misidentifications, but there are also some more interesting non-conventional explanations. So the first one we'll look at is misidentification. So now the first one of these is bears, right? Many scientists claim that American black bears are what people are likely seeing when they think they see a Bigfoot sighting, particularly when people view these creatures from afar. In dense foliage or in poor lighting conditions. There are also many reports of big black bears walking upright, and it is worth noting that when standing upright, adult black bears stand roughly 1.5 to 2.1 meters, i.e. 5 to 7 foot tall, and grizzly bears stand 2.4 to 2.7 meters, between 8 and 9 foot, both of which are well within the range of reported Bigfoot sightings. Now, I've heard people as well talking about black bears like walking like on hind legs, and they said it's not uncommon for people to be able to see a black bear walking like 10, 12 steps or whatever. So the idea that people could be seeing a black bear or something doesn't surprise me that that's what it could be that people are seeing. Now, the other theories are escape to apes. Some have proposed that sightings of Bigfoot may simply be people observing and misidentifying known great apes, such as chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans that have escaped from captivity, such as zoos, circuses, and private owners. This explanation is often proposed in relation to the Bigfoot-like skunk ape, as some argue the humid subtropical climate of the southeastern United States could potentially support a population of escaped apes. Now, the thing about that is that most of the reports I've heard about Bigfoot claim that it walks very similarly to a human and not like an ape, because most reports I've seen about apes, and when I've seen them in a zoo or whatever, they seem to be sort of crouched over and whatnot. I don't ever remember ever hearing about apes walking similarly to humans. I may be wrong, and if I am, I hold my hands up. But most of the time, I've heard that people say that Bigfoot walks very much like a human. So I'm not particularly convinced about that once. Humans have been mistaken for Bigfoot, with some instances leading to injuries. In 2013, a 21-year-old man in Oklahoma was arrested after he told law enforcement he had accidentally shot his friend in the back while their group was allegedly hunting for Bigfoot. In 2017, a shamanist wearing clothing made of animal furs was vacationing in a northern California forest when local reports of alleged Bigfoot sightings flooded in. Now, I'm sorry, but if you're going to the northern Californian forest and you're going up there dressed up in animal furs, I'm sorry, but you're asking for trouble as far as I'm concerned. What the hell was that guy thinking? I just think that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I don't advocate people being shot, but I mean, I just think that's crazy. I mean, unless he was deliberately trying to provoke this whole situation, because people do like being involved in like historic events, and it's known fact. I mean, it happened during the Second World War with the Hitler and people have claiming that they saw him in South America or they saw him in Spain or wherever. You know, it happens, but that's just bonkers. In 2018, a person was shot multiple times by a hunter near Helena, Montana, who claimed he mistook him for a Bigfoot. And yeah, this is the other thing. In Northern California, in that area that they're talking about, it's well known that area where people like to go hunting and whatnot. So if you're running around in the forest with animal skins on and stuff like that, you're running a serious danger of getting shot. So come on, you know, use your brain. Some people have also claimed that feral humans or hermits living in the wilderness are what people are seeing when they think they are seeing Bigfoot. Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, I've seen a few feral people running around the streets near where I live, so that doesn't surprise me. Right, so let's look at the next thing. So, pareidolia and hoaxes. So, pareidolia is the tendency for perception to impose a meaningful interpretation on a nebulous stimulus, usually visual, so that one sees an object, pattern, or meaning when there is none. So, for example, that cloud, obviously, that looks like a hand with a load of fingers on it. There's about 6 fingers in that cloud, but that's what that means. And some people have said that this phenomena can be used to explain Bigfoot sightings, such as the tendency to observe human-like faces and figures where in the natural environment, and photos and videos of poor quality which claim to depict Bigfoots are often attributed to this phenomena. So then hoaxes. It is agreed that both Bigfoot believers, believers and non-believers, that many of the reported sightings are hoaxes or misidentified animals. In 1968, the frozen corpse of a supposed hair-covered humanoid measuring 5'11" 1.8 meters, was paraded around the United States as part of a traveling exhibition. Many stories surface as to its origin, such as it having been killed by hunters in Minnesota or killed by American soldiers near Da Nang during the Vietnam War. It was attributed by some to be proof of Bigfoot-like creatures. Primatologist John R. Napier studied the subject and concluded it was a hoax made of latex. Others disputed this, claiming Napier did not study the original subject. And then, as of 2013, the subject dubbed the Minnesota Iceman is on display at the Museum of the Weird in Austin, Texas. So there you go. Now, extinct ape creatures. Now, I've got a white screen in front of me. I hope that's not what you're seeing, because I'll be seriously wound up if that's the case. Now, but I'm going to explain. I'm going to tell you. On this slide, you should be able to see a number of different extinct ape creatures. One of which is Gigantopithecus. Is an extinct type of ape which existed between 770,000 and 126,000 years ago in southern China. Two scientists, Grover Carritz and Jeffrey H. Bourne, claim that a possible explanation for Bigfoot could be that they are the survivors of a previously believed extinct type of ape species, which was commonly found in Southeast Asia, known as Gigantopithecus. Now, they claim that it is possible that these apes could have followed other species of animals that migrated across the Bering Land Bridge to the Americas. However, and the counter argument to that is there are no fossils of these apes have been found in Americas. Now, the thing is about this creature is that it does fit the size, because it is reported that these things stood about 8 foot tall. And they sort of match the other descriptions, that they got very human-like faces. They had reddish, sort of dark reddish, sort of brownish hair. So for me, if it does exist, I think this is what it is. I just think it's an extinct type of, previously thought extinct creature that is living in really remote parts of the world where not many humans venture out to. Because what we have to remember is that there are parts of the world that are still extremely remote, and some of it parts of it are unexplored. So it is possible that a creature of this size could still be living in there. I'm not saying that it's definitely real, but I'm saying if it is real, then that's what I think it would possibly be. And Omar Yahar says, afternoon. Afternoon, Omar. I hope you're well, buddy. I hope you're enjoying the show. Now, so let's move on. So here we go. So quadrupedal or bipedal. So what this is about, there also seems some debate as to whether these apes are bipedal or quadrupedal, as it is claimed that its enormous mass would have made it difficult for it to stand up, and therefore it would have moved around using all fours, which if it is quadrupedal, would seem to discount it as being a likely explanation for the Bigfoot phenomena, because all Bigfoot sightings indicate that the creature was standing upright. So, not a likely scenario. So, next thing, and the Paranthropus primatologist, again, Mr. John R. Napier, an anthropologist, Gordon Strassenborg, have suggested a species of extinct primates known as Paranthropus, which are closely related to humans, could explain the Bigfoot phenomena. However, one problem with this idea is the fact that fossils of these creatures are only found in Africa. Now, Neanderthals, Homo erectus, and Homo heidelbergensis. Some others, including Boris Porshnev, have suggested that the Neanderthals, Homo erectus or Homo heidelbergensis, to be the creature. But again, none remains of these species have been found in the Americas. But as we've seen, there are reported sightings in other parts of the world. So it could be that what people are seeing in other parts of the world could be this. But it is known that humans and Neanderthals battled heavily up until about 35,000 years ago. And Neanderthals were known to be cannibals, which could account for the lack of bodies found. Because this is a big problem. Like, there is no... there's never ever been any remains or bodies found of creatures that match the descriptions of Bigfoot. So this is considered a big problem. Now, connections to UFOs. Now, there is a very big connection to UFOs, and it's the idea behind this is that they seem to be gathering popularity, and more Bigfoot hunters are reporting run-ins with what is known as the orange orbs. Now, these are fast-moving lights that one may think are alien in nature, but they are seen in areas associated with Bigfoot. And anyone who knows about ghosts will tell you that orbs are a common phenomena in haunted locations. Now, we talked about this, I think, the last time that I was doing one of these shows, when we talked about ghosts, and it is a phenomenon that is associated with hauntings, that you'll see little lights, like normally circular in shape, that will move around, and it's quite common for them to be captured on film. And ghost hunters claim that they are the spirits of the departed, but it's also a phenomenon which is connected with Bigfoot and UFOs. Now, NASA recently raised the possibility that magnetic portals could be real, and many commentators on the Bigfoot phenomena believe that this could be a possible explanation of the Bigfoot phenomena, and this could provide an explanation as why they seem to be able to appear and disappear almost instantaneously, and why no Bigfoot bodies have ever been discovered. There is also increasing reports of Bigfoot sightings being accompanied by orange bright orb-like lights and, of Bigfoot being seen entering and leaving UFOs. There are also increasing Bigfoot sightings along with UFOs, and that the two have been increasingly in the same areas at the same time. There are also theories which claim that the Bigfoot creatures are visiting here from other dimensions, and or they are time travelers, and it explains why they are able to appear and disappear at the drop of a hat, and why it is that mainstream science claims that the remains, and there's no remains that have been found of them. So that is one possible explanation as to why no remains have been found, or why it is that they seem to be able to just go, disappear and reappear almost at random. Almost in the same way as the craft do. Like, because many people who have seen UFOs report that they will appear and then suddenly shoot off at high speed and then suddenly just disappear, just like that. So that's quite, for me, I find that quite an interesting aspect. So Jez is saying, fascinating stuff, Warren. Thank you, Jez. I'm glad that you're enjoying it, mate. Joanne says, I have loads of orbs in my room and garden. Well, there you go. Just make sure you don't get any Bigfoot turning up then. And yeah, but I don't think the orbs that you're seeing are to do with Bigfoot, darling. I really don't. Jeff Cross, Colorado Bigfoot on YouTube. Mark finds amazing structures up in the mountains. Is that right? Oh, I'm going to have a look at that because I've not seen that. So they found structures up in the mountains. Wow, that's fascinating. Because I've heard that these creatures are extremely intelligent as well, and they're very playful as well. They enjoy playing with humans, and they're very peaceful and gentle creatures, and they're not at all aggressive. The only time they become aggressive is when they're attacked. If they're attacked, they will attack. But yeah, that's interesting, Jeff. I'll be really interested to find out more about that. In fact, if you could email me some stuff about what you know about that, mate, that would be superb. My email address, actually, I'm going to put it in the chat, right? Because I've got the video open, so I'm going to put it in the chat. Hold on just a sec. Let me turn that down. Right, I'm going to put it in my email address in the chat, so you can email me, or anyone who's watching this. If you want to email me, you're more than welcome to. So it's Warren's Team Talk at outlook.com. There you go. So yeah, Jeff, if you could, I'd love that. If you could email me something, that'd be fantastic. So I'm really interested to find out more about that. So where did we get to? So theories of Bigfoot. Yeah, okay. So next one, what we're going to do now is talk about the history of Bigfoot. So the historical aspect of Bigfoot. There have been reports of giants and larger than humanoid type creatures in most cultures going back before recorded history, on cave paintings and religious writings. For example, the Bible mentions great giant humanoid creatures in the book of Genesis. and many indigenous cultures across North America tell stories of mysterious hair-covered creatures living in the forest, and these legends predate the Bigfoot phenomena. On the Tule River, Indian reservation in central California, images on rocks created by a tribe of Native American Indians called Yokuts at a site called Painted Rock are alleged by some to depict a group of Bigfoot called the Family. The local tribespeople call the images, the largest of the images, Hairy Man, and they estimated being between 500 and 1,000 years old. 16th century Spanish explorers and Mexican settlers in California told tales of the Los Vigilantes Oscuros, or the Dark Watchers, large creatures which are alleged to have stalked their camps at night. So the Spanish conquistadors had trouble with creatures attacking their camps at night time, probably because if they are what I think they were probably looking for food. And then in the region that is now the Mississippi, a French Jesuit priest was living with a group of Native American indigenous people called the Natchez in 1721, and he reported stories of hairy creatures in the forest known to scream loudly and steal livestock. Ecologist Roger Pyle, hold on just a sec for me. Yeah, ecologist Roger Pyle argues that most cultures have accounts of human-like giants in their folk history, expressing a need for some larger-than-life creatures, and most languages have their own names for these creatures. Many of these names mean something in the lines of wild man or hairy man, although other names describe common actions that it was said to perform, such as eating clams or shaking trees, because one of the ways that this creature is alleged to communicate is by knocking. They like knocking, apparently. So what they do is they'll bang sticks or rocks up against trees, which make a knocking noise. So yeah, that's quite common. So I'm just going to, again, for those who may have missed it earlier, I'm going to play an audio file I've got of alleged Bigfoot. So listen to this. Right. So yeah, I just thought I'd let you have a listen to that again. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed that. So let's. Yeah, I'm just wondering if anyone's got any questions or any comments they want to make about what we've covered today. Because I haven't got anything else to say about the Bigfoot phenomena. But if anyone's got any questions, please throw them into the chat and I'll try and answer them for you. The only other thing I want to say is, what would you like the next show to be about? Because, for example, I can talk about the Loch Ness Monster. I can talk about crop circles. We can talk about general UFOs. We can talk about what else can we talk about? We could talk about Dracula. We could talk anything about the world of the unknown, or we can talk about witchcraft, and about how witches were treated in days gone past, because it's absolutely disgusting. It really is. So yeah, just let me know what you would like, and next time I do a show, we'll do something about that. Jess has come in, says Loch Ness Monster all day, mate. No problem. Loch Ness Monster it is. I'll talk about that the next time then. Right. Okay, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to put Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, that's another one we can do. Please put in ideas that you'd like me to talk about, and I'm happy to do that. And please don't forget to put a like on the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to Diesel's channel if you haven't done so already. I'm sure that he'll be talking about this bloody nonsense of a football club at some point in the near future as well. Tomorrow, just so you know, on my channel, Warren's Team Talk, I'm going to be doing a show, Match Day Live, which I always do on a weekend, covering the Premier League matches. All the games are kicking off at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and I'll be covering all the action as it happens, reporting the goals and major incidents from all the games. Never had 10 games all kicking off at once, so that's going to be interesting. Because normally it's like 3 or 4, maximum 5, so it'll be interesting. But yeah, that'll be starting. I'm hoping to be able to start it about 3:30. So yeah, you'll be able to find that on the Warren's Team Talk channel. Just type in Warren's Team Talk into YouTube and you'll find it. And like I say, I'm hoping to start it tomorrow at 3:30. So yeah, please come and check me out. Look at some of my videos, put likes on my videos, subscribe to my channel if you've never been there before. And yeah, come and engage with me, because I love chatting to people on my channel. It's really cool. And my channel is a general football channel, but it's also about Arsenal, because that's the team that I support. As well as that, I'm a Celtic supporter as well, because of my family heritage. My dad came from Dunfermline in Scotland. He was a massive Dunfermline Athletic supporter and a Celtics fan, which is common in Scotland. Like, if you come from a small provincial town like that, it's now a city though, which is great news. If you come from a small provincial town, and then it's quite common that you would support the local team, plus either Celtic or Rangers as well. It's quite common. It's normal, because the two clubs, Celtic and Rangers, are absolutely massive. And the two clubs it's all mixed up in religion. The Catholic team is Celtic, the Protestant team is Rangers, and that's how it all pans out. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that bit at the end. Interesting little sideline for you. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed the show and enjoyed listening to me talking about Bigfoot. And like I say, my explanation for it is that if it is, and there is a creature matching the description of Bigfoot, then I think it's likely that it's an animal, ape-like animal that scientists believed was extinct, that has been living in extremely remote areas that isn't actually extinct. That's what I think. So that's it. I'm going to end it there. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope you have a really great remainder of your day. Thanks very much for tuning in and joining me today on Diesel Arsenal channel. And big up to Diesel as well for allowing me to come on and do this for you. I've really enjoyed it. And as I always say, please keep talking to each other and support each other, because we're having a really tough time at the moment, aren't we? So, yeah, be good to each other, support each other, share some love and kindness around the world, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks a lot, people. Take care. Bye for now.